What progress have you made on your formal report?
So far, I've obtained many credible sources and expert statements to build credibility for my argument. Many expert statements come from NASA engineers and other specialists in the airline and aircraft fuel industry. I have also found data that can conclude that biojet fuel is a feasible option and should be highly considered. My report is written as an introduction to the topic, why the argument is being made, what should be done to accomplish the task, what criticisms and obstacles are to be encountered, and a conclusion to my final recommendation.
What progress have you made on your formal report?
So far, I've obtained many credible sources and expert statements to build credibility for my argument. Many expert statements come from NASA engineers and other specialists in the airline and aircraft fuel industry. I have also found data that can conclude that biojet fuel is a feasible option and should be highly considered. My report is written as an introduction to the topic, why the argument is being made, what should be done to accomplish the task being argued, what criticism and obstacles are being encountered, and a conclusion to my final recommendation.
What have you accomplished so far?
I've established a timeline on the progress at which research and development may be done over the next few years. In 2016, biojet fuel has been proven to be a viable fuel source. In 2017, funding will be increased to research of the process of manufacturing biojet fuel. In 2018 and 2019, major developments will be made to manufacturing of biojet fuel. By 2020, many airline and military aircraft will be integrated to be fueled by biojet fuel, and emissions are predicted to be reduced by 80%. I have established economic, political, and environmental arguments to why biojet fuel is an integral component of the aircraft industry and should be highly considered for future funding of research and development.
What are some possible obstacles you will encounter in writing your formal report?
The biggest problem is finding conclusive data to support that biofuel jet fuel is economic. Currently, kerosene jet fuel is being sold by ExxonMobil for $2.25 a gallon, and biojet fuel is being sold for $2.80 a gallon. Initially, this data proves my argument is anything but cost effective. However, I have data that suggests that in the next 20 years, kerosene jet fuel will rise by 40%. In order to combat this rise, there will need to be alternative sources of jet fuel. It is difficult to build this argument simply because there is not enough research done on biojet fuel. Another obstacle is finding research that initially proves CO2 emissions will be reduced. In order for biojet fuel to be produced, crops, or feedstock, is cultivated at very high degrees, and in doing this, a lot of CO2 is produced in order to meet the high demand of feedstock to produce the biojet fuel. Lastly, there are many FAA flight requirements that hold major restrictions to who can produce jet fuel and what engines can run the fuel. Not only will my argument need to convince the aircraft industry to use biojet fuel, but convince them to work and research alongside the FAA by the strict regulations.
How do you feel the final project will appear when completed?
I believe the final project will prove that biojet fuel is to be highly considered and is worthy of increased funding by providing statistical evidence that proves it will impact the environment in a positive way, can be cost effective, and does not affect safety will add major credibility to my argument. Graphs and charts will be used to visually illustrate the viability of my argument. My formal report will also provide expert statements and research laboratory data that concludes biojet fuel is a safe and environmentally friendly substitute for conventional jet fuel. My final recommendation will state that even if all aircraft cannot be converted to a biojet fuel, it will urge the aircraft industry to make the first steps towards environmentally friendly jet fuel and to begin greatly reducing our carbon footprint in the skies.